Hello, I'm Richard Herring.
I'm Abdullah Krawi.
And this is Sight on Screen.
So,
Yeah.
this week,
Hey, dude, we were in a cinema with Sight actually on a goddamn big screen for the first time in forever.
Since we basically started this.
Yeah, we have been just locked up.
There was so much anticipation, starting with movies that hinted toward movies that were coming out this year that we were gonna watch, and also do an episode on, like the new Mulan, which came out, but didn't really come out in cinemas, and was a big flop.
Yeah, I wonder why.
And Black Widow.
Yeah.
Top Gun. So many movies.
Just went straight down in the quarantine drain.
Yeah, but this one kind of held strong. It had summer 2020, and it stayed kind of summer 2020. I mean,
mainly because
end of it, but still.
Yeah, mainly because Nolan just doesn't give a sweet damn about your personal safety.
Pretty much, I think. Well, he's one of those that. And I don't really blame him, because his movies are better seen on the big screen, with the massive
but
speakers.
The fact that he refused to let this film even be shown at a drive-in...
Yeah, it's a bit...
He really hardlined on this for a strange reason.
And a strange reason indeed, because after watching the movie, I honestly don't understand.
In case you didn't read the title, we are talking about Tenet.
Tenet, the new Christopher Nolan
Tenet, not Tenant.
Yeah, that's true, Tenet.
Which is the latest big feature from, acclaimed auteur Christopher Nolan.
Who we sang the bloody praises of in an
earlier
episode.
We really went through a big old roundup, and I'm going to just come out right up front and say it. This is my least favorite Nolan.
Yeah,
I just...
It's not to say it's a bad movie per se. There is entertainment value in it.
There is entertainment value in it, yeah.
There is some interesting concepts put forth, but something happened in that writing process. There was something that went wrong.
Yeah. No, Here's the thing, though. Usually I watch a movie like this and I can see where it went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things of having done script doctoring and having worked with scripts and worked on screenwriting and such. You can usually tell where the mistake happened. Because usually it's a question of time. There wasn't enough time given to A, B, or C. Here it seems like it was just a mistake from the beginning. I don't know where it went wrong. I can't see the problem.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And when we get into spoilers, we'll get into more specifics. But I think the main character, that was a complete waste of a character. Yeah, honestly, the movie would have worked without him.
Here's the thing, because this is kind of it has always been the Nolan problem. It's finally come around and bit him truly in the ass. Nolan has always been much more interested in his concepts than in his characters.
Yeah, like you could even argue to a certain extent in Inception, where Cobb, the main character that's played by Leonardo DiCaprio, doesn't really have much of a backstory, but...
No, but what he does have is a clear...
motivation.
Not only a clear motivation, but here's the thing. Good storytelling is that you have a central character which you want to root for. You want the audience to get behind that character. You give people a reason to invest, and you make the opponent some kind of dichotomy, reflection, or direct opposition to that character.
Yeah.
For example...
Batman
Joker, or in the case of Cobb, him and his dream version of his wife.
Yeah.
This idea that his past is haunting him, and that is there's a psychology thing there, and you're a lot of what the story is reflected in this character combat.
And then it's circled back by his task being the inception of an idea is what brought him down this road in the first place.
Exactly.
It was a really nice...
It's a really tight narrative.
Yeah.
Memento, it's the fact that his memory issues is what is actually the source of of what he's doing.
Yeah, and he doesn't know
whether...
Yeah, he doesn't know whether or not he's actually committed these acts before. He's just repeating this cycle, or at least that's what the movie hints at.
There's a lot of stuff there where the overall concept, man who cannot remember, is reflected in the character.
Mm-hmm. And in the storytelling.
And in the storytelling, the character just kind of a back and forth there. It's all kind of reflecting back and forth, and it works on a narrative level. Mm-hmm. Even in Interstellar, which is, up until this point, narratively, the weakest Nolan.
Yeah, mainly because of that one line.
Oh.
And the weirdo ending that was completely unnecessary, but
yes. Yeah, but in Interstellar, at least there was that father-daughter relationship, which then was kind of the overarching kind of point A to point B of what happened in terms of the time dilation stuff. And
because the whole relationship between them, the love between them, which is the theme of the movie, is what made him be able to send her the message, which then led him to repeat, basically.
Which I'm never going to claim is smart, but at least it worked narratively to a degree.
Yeah. No, upon watching it, you can understand what's going on.
Yeah, it gives you enough of a foothold to get your teeth into the concept.
Yeah.
Here, I'm sorry, this was way closer for me to a magic show than it was to a storytelling effort.
Yes. So let's break down some of the positives and negatives spoiler-free, and then we can get into some spoilers later on, because this is a brand new movie.
It is a brand new movie, but okay.
So I guess I could start a little bit with the positives.
Go for it.
The soundtrack, although this is probably one of the first movies in a very long time to not have Hans Zimmer do the score, because he was busy with another project. I don't remember exactly what it was.
Right.
They used the same composer as Black Panther.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. And I liked it.
I liked it a lot.
I liked the score.
There was some really interesting and reversing of sounds and playing sounds forward, back and forth.
There was a lot of interesting stuff there. What I will say though, I'm gonna say yes, that's a positive.
Okay.
The sound mixing was
yes, I completely agree. I completely agree.
I'm sorry.
I blasted my eardrums in that movie.
I'm sorry. Not only that, but there was so much ambient noise going on, half the bloody conversations just faded into nothing.
Oh, yeah. The famous Nolan scenes where they're just walking around and in the streets and talking, like, for example, in Inception.
Yeah.
Those scenes here, you could barely hear anything that people were talking about.
It's like the cafe scene from Inception, but all you can hear is angry seagulls. It's just, we really need to, whatever this was in terms of a artistic decision?
I doubt
because it was. I read up on it. Apparently the idea Nolan had is that if he made the conversations hard to hear, people had to pay more attention.
Oh, God.
And I'm like, dude, no.
See, now this is why you don't give complete creative control. You never give complete creative control.
Oh, man. Anyway, so positive soundtrack, negative sound mix.
Yeah. And back to the soundtrack. Although it wasn't Hans Zimmer, you'd be hard-pressed to recognize the difference. It was very Hans Zimmer-y.
It was Zimmer-y, but also a slightly more modern take on Zimmer.
Yeah, there was a bit more beats, let's say. A bit more percussion in there. Than melody, which is a Zimmer must.
Yeah, no, it had a little bit of a I mean,
and it plays into the plot, because I'm just thinking the machinery. I'm not going to go too deep into it yet, but like,
you know what it reminded me of? What? Terminator 2.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
The same thing was going through my head.
Really that metallic kind of, you can almost hear the ironworks going on in parts of this movie.
Yeah. Another major positive for me, at least, choreography of some of the action scenes. There was some really awesome...
I love the fact that you're going to give a positive and then I'm going to really counter it with a negative here.
I don't know. I mean, the two scenes that are the main focus are obviously the airport scene. And then the final silo, whatever, scene.
So here's the thing. I'm going to agree with you about the choreography. I think the choreography was great. I want to punch the cameraman.
Yes, I completely agree with you. He completely takes you out of the action, which is so annoying.
It's some of the worst camera work.
It reminds me of Batman Begins, but at least there you had that idea of, well, if you're not supposed to be able to see Batman because he's instilling fear and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But it was really really bad camera work in Batman.
You know
Begins.
what it reminded me of? The later Bourne movies, Bourne Ultimatum.
Yeah, sure.
Born Superior, not Born Identity. Born Identity was restrained greengrass camera work. Mm-hmm. This was the greengrass camera work we didn't want, man. I'm telling you, this camera work. Ooh, yeah, very much so. It was like, come on.
It didn't cut too much. It was just way too close.
It was too close and it was too shaky.
Way too shaky.
It was like, you know what? We know how to do fight choreography. Why? The fact that they couldn't get just a little bit more of that John Wick.
I'm gonna name drop a movie that we also recently watched. Old Guard.
Old Guard, yeah, absolutely.
Amazing choreography and fantastic camera work.
Because finally we're finding this balance. Because yes, as much as I love the John Wick series, this idea of the long take, no edit fight scenes has gone too far.
Especially in John Wick 3.
John Wick 3, too much. Editing has its place in a fight scene. You watch an old action movie, guess what? Editing is in there. John Woo wouldn't have got where he is without a good editor. Mm-hmm. But, it's a balance. We went way too into the editing. We ended up with this greengrass nonsense of half a second cuts.
Yeah, the median cut of being half a second or less.
And that is just awful. And then we went way too far the other way with John Wick 3, where it's just kind of like, cut. Please cut. I beg you. We don't need this to keep going this far. Yeah. And then it's like Old Guard is right there in the perfect sweet spot.
Yeah, because you see one amazing action move after another, but it's cut in between them.
But it's also the fact that they've got a really good rhythm. Beat, beat, cut, beat, cut. It's enough to watch the action. It's enough to get some smooth sequences, and then we cut to a better angle for even more effect.
Speaking of that rhythm, it kind of reminds me of a little bit of Baby Driver.
Yes, Baby Driver is great for that.
Yeah, because Baby Driver was edited and even shot to the soundtrack, which gave everything a very unique rhythm.
Yeah. John Spencer Blues Explosion, man.
Yeah.
That is an absolute killer opener.
Oh, God.
It's so great. But this was, especially the airport scene, I was losing my mind.
Now, given that they actually filmed it at the Norwegian airport.
Yeah, they did. I didn't realize there was Norway in this movie, so I'm just sitting there going, wait, what?
Yep.
We need to go to Oslo.
Airport. Oslo Airport. And they filmed it at the actual airport, so to a certain extent I can understand the tight corridors and whatnot.
Yeah, but you know what?
God.
Build a set.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't care how realistic. We have the money. It probably would have cost you less than renting Oslo Airport. Nothing in Norway is cheap.
Oh, it's like the Fallout. Mission Impossible Fallout. They rented out, how much easier would it have been if we just, made a set or something?
You know what? Do the goddamn Parasite. Build the set and then film outside for part of it.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect. You know what? You could have shown me the outside of that airport. I would have been fine.
Yeah, me too.
I would have believed it. I have no idea what it looks like behind the central area of Oslo Airport.
Anyways, so the choreography, although the camera work,
horrible. Fantastic. You know what? The main actor, John David Washington, was an NFL player. It shows. When he goes
I didn't actually know that.
No, he was an NFL quarterback, I think. No. So when he's going through the action beats, especially the restaurant bit where he's going through the kitchen, you are feeling that physicality. This guy's got severe, screen fight presence. He makes these hits land. And I'm thinking to myself, yes, yes, yes. And then the camera's doing whatever it's doing. And I'm like, no, no, no.
Okay, so another positive/negative that you're also going to counter with.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm going to say that most of the performances were really good. Two really stand out as being, at least one of them stands out as being awful, and then one just incredibly bland.
Okay, go for it. Tell me. I'm really
Robert
curious.
Pattinson, Kenneth Branagh, amazing performances.
Yeah,
both.
They both nailed it.
They nailed it
completely.
Yeah. The protagonist, which is what his name is. Yeah,
he didn't get a name in the movie.
Yeah, that was the name. That's in the credits. The protagonist.
Yeah, the protagonist.
He's just incredibly bland as a character. There's no character motivation. Even his interaction with people is just really stilted in a lot of scenes, which was a surprise to me because I'd seen him in BlacKkKlansman, in some I'd seen a few episodes of Ballers.
I've never watched that show, but
the Dwayne Rock Johnson.
Again, NFL player, which is why he's in that.
Yeah, and really, really great
John David, because this is Denzel Washington's kid.
Yeah.
And you can tell. when he's doing good, he's really got a bit of that old Denzel magic.
But here it was like completely lacking any and all charisma.
Yep, it really was. And I think that has to do, I can't blame John David Washington.
I suspect, like you, I suspect it has a lot to do with the script and the fact that there was no characterization.
I think it has a lot to do with the script. I also think it has a lot to do with the Nolan directing style.
Maybe.
Because I want you to cast your mind back to Inception, and I want you to think about the DiCaprio performance in that. Was there a lot going on there? Really?
No.
Or was it mainly carried by the fact that he got such a veteran actor that he could make what little he had work?
That's true. He does have a tendency to get really veteran. Like, even Christian Bale. Christian Bale plays an incredibly bland...
the blandest of Batmans.
Even blander than Ben Affleck. But yes.
Yeah, you know what? I'll agree with that.
At least Ben Affleck has some that anger in him.
Yeah, no, he's got...
But Christian Bale is such a veteran actor that I think he pulled it off. And I think to most people, he's still considered as the best Batman.
I'm a Keaton guy, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Mainly because I like the Batman who I look at and I honestly think to myself, this guy might snap and kill us all.
And I like the Batman that I completely can't see being Batman. Like, this is the Bruce Wayne. Like, no, you're obviously not Batman.
You're clearly a nut job hiding something in this house. I don't know what it is, but it's something.
Like, Keaton, I can completely believe as some insane person with a lot of money. Yep. But as a Batman, like, just looking at the outside. But then when he actually plays, when he puts on the costume, he's completely Batman.
Michael Keaton is, the people who meet Michael Keaton should be looking at him going, this man is either Batman, or I need to start checking my drinks.
Definitely the second one, regardless.
When he knocks out Kim Basinger in that movie, it's kind of like,
I know,
dude,
it's amazing.
What have you got in that cape?
Oh, God. Well, that's besides the point. The mother, the wife, she's Kenneth Branagh's wife.
Yeah, what is her name? I can't remember.
Marie something. Yeah.
I don't know the actress's name either.
No, and such bad writing for her.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that she's a bad actress, because I really haven't seen her in anything else.
Not that I can remember.
Yeah, but
like, look her up. I'm really curious.
Absolutely horrible writing, and they repeat that freaking line again and again.
I mean, this is the Nolanness. Nolan can't write women. Nolan has never been able to write women. Carrie-Anne Moss in Memento.
That's true. Now that you mention
that is pretty much the bitches be crazy performance, and that's all that character had. That girl in Inception. What's her name?
Mal?
Sure.
Yeah,
she has nothing to do except be the...
But she's incredibly charismatic,
She's great.
So she's able to pull it off. Yeah, that's an actress.
That's what I'm talking about. Nolan needs good actors because he isn't a great director of actors. He's a great director of action, and he's a great director of story concepts.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
That's why he needs Michael Caine.
He's in everything.
He is in everything. It's kind of like, Michael, please save me.
Michael Caine.
I love that. I love the fact that he just shows up for nothing in this movie.
Yeah, he shows up for like 2 minutes, and then that's it.
I mean, I won't stand up. No, Chris, I'm sitting.
Yeah, like, we're not posh.
I'm sorry, whatever, again, it's so, Elizabeth Debicki, apparently.
Debicki.
She's in The Great Gatsby.
Ah!
Yeah,
I love that.
She's in Guardians of the Galaxy. She's in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. What? What is she?
Man from U.N.C.L.E. Oh, she's actually one of the leads in The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
She's the bad girl, isn't she? She's the evil one.
I think so. Oh, God.
Sorry, this lady has not left a lot of an impression on me, to be entirely honest with you. I'm like...
But now that you're mentioning the name of the movie, I'm remembering.
And she's the golden woman from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, whatever that weird character is.
That weird race of just, like, really snobbish people.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. She's got her nose so high in the air, you can almost look into her upper brain cavity. It's just like, what are you doing, lady? Yeah, she's the bad woman from The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Yeah, which is a great movie.
Yeah, this is the thing. She's a good bad guy. Because she is snobbish as all hell.
Yeah, doesn't make for a sympathetic character.
No, it's like John David Washington is going so far out of his way for this woman in this movie, and you were literally sitting there going,
but why?
Dude, I don't think she's worth it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you could just let her go.
She gives absolutely no reason why he should care. Like, no. Other than the line that they keep hammering over the head with, that I'm not going to mention yet.
Don't mention it yet. But here's the thing I will say. When she showed up in the movie, I was fine. I hadn't watched the trailer or anything.
Yeah,
when she kept being in the movie,
that was the problem.
I was beyond shocked. I'm like, wait, this is our character?
These four are our characters.
I thought we were going to leave her behind. I thought we were moving on.
And it's so funny because I really... most of the side characters I really like the British MI6 guy.
Hell yeah, no,
I loved him. He was hilarious.
Great, yeah, no issues there.
Yeah, but
hell, even Suja or whatever her name was, the weapons dealer.
Yeah,
who I call the plot hole.
The plot hole.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm just gonna call her the plot hole.
Yes. Yeah, there's some stuff that happens. Oof.
Oh my god, no, and. Again, this is what I'm talking about. Every complaint you've ever heard about a Nolan movie, this takes all of them to the extreme.
Yeah, to the nth degree.
Do you think Dunkirk was a bit slow in parts? Wait till you watch Tenet.
Oh,
do you think Nolan can't write women? Women? Wait till you watch Tenet. Do you think Nolan is getting carried away with his choreography and his stylistic effects? Wait till you watch motherfucking Tenet.
Oh, God.
My God.
What a... And, again, I don't want to discourage people from watching the movie, because I think there is entertainment value in it.
Sure. Man, you are way more forgiving of this movie than I am.
Well, I don't know. I you know me. I'm forgiving.
You are forgiving. You're way more forgiving of this stuff than I am, but damn.
But I think that people should temper their expectations quite heavily, because I had relatively high expectations, but I didn't watch any of the trailers like you.
No, that was my mistake, because I took my girlfriend, and she is a flute player, and she studies. This
is not a spoiler, because it happens literally in the first 2 minutes.
It's the first 2 minutes. So she has a bachelor in classical music flute playing. Great. Opening of the movie, I hear an orchestra being tuned. And she's there next to me, and she perks right up, and I'm thinking to myself, good on me, man. Yeah. There's an orchestra in this. This is gonna be great. First thing that happens, terrorist attack on an orchestra.
Hold the flute player.
The flute player gets a gun shoved into his face, and I get the corner of my eye, I'm just watching her, just going...
Filling up with the rage.
And I'm like, I am in so much trouble. But,
oh, God.
And it just, wonderful. I just know, what is this? And again, that opening scene is perfectly indicative. Who's there? Why is anything happening? Does any of this matter? Do I care? Have I been given any reason to care? No. And at no point does it really kind of give any reason for itself to exist.
Yeah, because Nolan does hard opens. He did it in Inception.
Yeah.
But... Again, he really took his time in that one.
Yeah, but here's the thing. In Inception, the hard open was...
It was so integral to the plot, though.
It was number one, integral to the part. Number two, it served purpose. It explained things. It put a lot of stuff into context for the rest of the movie. Great.
Yeah, because one of the first things that happens is Cobb, the main character, explains what it is you're doing. He is an expert, a security expert for dreams.
But here's the big thing. Here's the huge difference. Opening of Inception. Hard open. You know what's established almost immediately? Who is our main character and what are the stakes?
Yeah.
We know there's a timeline, we know he needs to get something, and we know who he is and what he's kind of doing.
And you're also introduced to the villain of the movie.
Also introduced to the villain. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, opening a Tenet. What happened?
Nothing. Nothing to do with anything in the movie, honestly, except for that one shot, which is sort of what kickstarts the whole plot.
Yeah, but
is a bullet that goes backwards, and it's like, okay,
great,
all right,
fantastic. And the fact that John David Washington has zero reaction to it is amazing.
I would have freaked the heck out.
I would have stopped. I'm like, nope, I'm done. Yeah. I've clearly lost my mind. Physics has changed.
And then there's obviously. So should we get into spoilers now that we've gone through the 3 good things about this movie?
Again, I mean, the only thing
with caveats. It's 3 good things with caveats.
I think what we can say, just to round off the non-spoiler section, as a technical achievement, It's quite breathtaking. There is
Completely
so much technical stuff going on in this movie that is actually really, really great.
And what's like the cherry on top is that almost all of it is practical effects.
Yeah.
That's a Nolan's guarantee.
That's a Nolan guarantee, but here's the thing I'm going to say, and I think this is kind of both the biggest compliment and the biggest insult I can give this film. This movie is going to be shown in film courses from now on, but only in technical fields.
Yes.
This movie is never going to be shown to an audience of film students for its story, its character, or its narrative.
Yeah, because it fails on all those fronts.
Yeah, it's going to be shown purely as a technical example, which is honestly kind of a failure of filmmaking.
Yeah, because it's like pioneering a single aspect.
Yeah,
because he did the technical aspects amazingly.
Yep,
like we were saying,
doubt.
The choreography, the some of the effects that were there, like the cars moving backwards and
all
forward.
of that stuff is great, but he never gave us a reason to care.
No, that was the thing,
which is kind of sucky.
It could have been boiled down to a 30-minute montage of just amazing effects, and that's about it.
Yeah, this could have been an amazing show reel.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, so that's kind of the round off on non-spoiler territory. Let's get into it.
Would you recommend the movie?
This?
Yeah, like people to experience from a purely technical aspect, or
on a purely technical aspect? Sure. I'm kind of gonna make a weird recommendation here, which is that I think it probably benefits a lot from a cinema experience.
Yes.
I think this movie probably falls flatter at home on a TV.
And I think Nolan knew that, which is why he was so adamant about it being shown in theaters.
Yeah, but this is kind of my double-edged sword here, which is kind of like, yes, this movie probably works really well in cinemas compared to how it works at home. I am not entirely sure it's worth the price of admission.
Yeah.
That's a hard sell for me, man. I mean,
agree.
we live in Norway where the tickets cost a fortune.
I mean, they do in the US as well. It's $15.
$15.
Yeah.
And I don't think this movie's worth $15.
Yeah, I
don't.
And
it's the first Nolan film that hasn't been worth price of admission for me.
Yeah, same. But I'm gonna put a little like asterisk and say, if you are a huge Nolan fan,
yeah,
as we are,
yep.
and appreciate the technical aspect of filmmaking,
yeah,
and then can also look away from some of the caveats and down.
I mean, if you can find a reason to watch this, if you have a reason, like if you say to yourself, "Yeah, I'm watching it because it's a Nolan," or "I'm watching it because of John David Washington," or "I'm watching it because of Patterson,"
I would watch it because of Pattinson.
He's really good.
He does really. I wanted him to be the protagonist, to be honest, because he was way more entertaining and actually had some character.
He really did, but I think he would have. Here's the problem.
But in the same role, he would have had the same problem.
He would have had the exact same problem.
I know.
I mean, I would have loved to watch Kenneth Branagh do exactly this character as the villain of Die Hard 2.
Yes,
but that's where he belongs. It's not in this movie.
Yeah, and that's another thing this movie does really weird, where it has some of these over the top characters, and even the concept is incredibly over the top.
Yeah, I mean,
but it tries to ground itself.
Branagh's a Bond villain.
Yeah,
he goes all out. He is a perfect modern era Daniel Craig Bond villain.
He actually did a much better job than, say, Christoph Waltz, who's also an amazing actor, but fell flat in Spectre
because he didn't shoot the scenery enough.
Exactly, but Kenneth Branagh.
Here's the thing.
Him as Blomfield. Oh my god!
I think the Christopher Waltz character in Spectre would have been a better match for this movie.
Yes, I completely agree.
He would have been that kind of slightly more subtle, slightly more nuanced performance is what this movie kind of needed.
Yeah,
Kenneth Branagh is like this is the problem. You have one side which is just Patterson and Washington having quiet conversations in small spaces.
With a lot of ambient sound.
With a lot of ambient noise. Or like walking the streets of Mumbai or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're kind of watching that and you're going like, okay, it's this kind of movie. It's almost West Wing walk and talk. Cut to Branagh, who is like Godzilla tearing through scenery.
Yeah, I know.
Just like, I'm here on a yacht and I'm eating it. Ah! I am a Russian. It's like...
Yeah, and it's even the accent. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's so over the top. I absolutely loved it.
and the scenes where he is paired with whatever her name is, Kat?
I don't know.
The woman.
The woman.
When he is paired with the single woman in this movie.
Yeah.
I think there's one.
There's the other one.
There's one woman who...
There's the arms dealer, and then there's the scientist. Those three women.
There's an arms dealer, a scientist, and...
But they have such minor roles in comparison to her. She's an actual main character.
The woman. Yeah. Anyway, when he is paired with her, there's like a scene near the end where they really have to kind of like match wits almost.
Yeah. Oh god.
And
she does not match his level of intensity
at all. It's kind of amazing because it's kind of like me standing in a field on a bright sunny day and turning on a flashlight and saying, "I made it better. I'll find it now."
Oh my god.
Because, dude, she is just not up there.
Okay, one last positive before we move over into spoiler territory is the fact that this movie wraps up practically everything it sets up. Like every little thing that's mentioned in the movie, because if you were paying attention, as far as I could tell from our single viewing, and I think I would need to watch this at least one or two more times to really to like know this for sure.
Yeah.
But practically everything that was set up had a payoff in the sense of wrapping the story.
Yeah.
From a plot sense.
Again, I'm gonna just have to combat you with a negative attached to the same point. Yes, I agree with you. I think every single little check mark is ticked off.
Yeah.
I think that was done at the expense of letting the certain areas that needed to do so breathe.
Yeah.
I think the script and I think the editing was much more interested in checking those tick marks so that he could point at and say, "Look how smart I am."
Yeah.
Instead of actually letting certain moments kind of do what they needed to do emotionally.
Yes.
Because this feels like it was a 4-hour cut that had to be worked down to 2-hour 40. And what they edited out was anything that wasn't in the service of that checking off.
Yeah. And yeah, keep that in mind if you are planning to watch this movie. It's a 2-hour 40-minute movie that you definitely feel.
It's a 2-hour 40-minute movie that feels like 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
It's the same length.
It reminded me of my longer Snyder cuts.
Dude, yeah, but okay, a movie you finally got around to watching. It's about the same length as Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
That's true, yeah. That flew by.
Yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood just whoop, done, fine, finished. Woo,
yeah.
What a ride.
I don't know if I mentioned that before we started recording or after, but now, just to sort of wrap up this section, now that starting out, I was not a huge fan of Tarantino, although I did enjoy his movies, but from a purely entertainment standpoint, I was more focused on Nolan as an auteur, you could say.
Yeah, whatever
a filmmaker.
Sure.
And now those paths have kind of switched, where now I'm more interested in what Tarantino will do next than what Nolan will do next, and that is a sad, sad day.
Because I think what's happening is this. Tarantino is benefiting from age. Tarantino is maturing as a filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
Nolan, honestly, seems to be kind of regressing because he's no one's keeping him in check.
Yeah, I think
Nolan would have made exactly this movie 20 years ago if he'd had the budget and the opportunity. But people were keeping control of him, so he made the movies he did.
Yeah, I mean, seeing some of his shorter films, you can maybe see some aspects of this in there.
Yeah, I think this is this is him with complete creative control. Finally. Practically an unlimited budget and full creative control, and his worst tendencies have just really taken hold and festered. And for me, it's really sad because he has made some movies that I absolutely adore.
Yeah, no, his movies have always been like in my top 10s of the year.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
completely.
Yeah.
Prestige, right up there.
Oh my god, Prestige.
Inception, right up there. Dark Knight, right up there.
And if you want to see a Nolan movie, watch Prestige. Honestly, honestly, that's my
Prestige and Inception.
As much as I love Inception, like if I had to pick one, Prestige.
No, I agree with that completely.
Prestige is probably the best he's ever been at writing, and I don't think you had anything to do with the writing of that movie.
No, that was his brother.
Yeah, that was
practically
Jonathan.
That was his brother, and he just script doctored.
Yeah, and whenever Jonathan Nolan is involved,
Jonathan Nolan can write.
Yeah,
Jonathan Nolan is the much better screenwriter than his brother.
Yeah, Jonathan Nolan sort of he was part of what led to the idea of Memento, which is one of his breakthrough feature.
Unfortunately, John Nolan was running off and doing Westworld.
Yeah. Anyway, so that wraps up our non-spoiler section.
So let's get into the actual like every Nolan movie, there is what is the movie about? It's not who, it's a what.
Yeah, and I couldn't tell you. This movie... Well, I could. It's about...
Sure.
So,
go for it.
So, one thing that cause I read a bit about it, after I saw the movie. So one thing that this movie does pretty well is the science part of it, which is sort of a staple of Nolan. Scientifically, he's always been relatively accurate, so, like...
Okay.
Even when he takes things in the fantastical element, he tries to ground it in some form of science.
Okay, I am really waiting to hear where you go with this. But
yeah,
go for it.
So the whole plot of this movie revolves around that people in the future figured out a formula, in the same way of how Interstellar had also. People from the future made this wormhole and this tesseract, and people in the future figured it out. We're not going to worry about it now. This is the future.
Don't ask.
Yeah. They figured out this formula to reverse time. And as we all know, time moves, at least in Einsteinian physics, and not string theory.
Yeah.
Time only has a single...
linear forward direction.
Well, not linear, but it's only got a positive axis. Yeah. It doesn't have a negative axis.
It doesn't have a negative axis,
you can speed time up, you can slow time down, but you cannot reverse time.
Correct.
But because of laws of entropy, which is the second law of thermodynamics, I'm not going to get too far into it because this isn't a science lesson.
Nope.
But people in the future figured out how to reverse entropy.
Yes.
Which, in a sense, reverses time.
Yeah. And I'll be entirely honest, this is the point where they explain this in the film without... and it really is a tell, don't show. They just sit you down and tell you this.
Yeah, no, but it's amazing because they literally have the line in the movie where... Don't try to understand.
Don't try to understand it. Just, it's intuitive.
Yeah, feel it.
And I swear to God, that is the moment...
I laughed out loud. Yeah. I was like, yeah.
You know what? That's the point where you're going to lose. A lot of people are just going to go, okay. And it's where it almost lost me.
Same. I never expected that line from a Nolan movie. Yeah. I was completely in shock and laughed out loud.
Don't try to understand it. You know what? That's a line that you would expect in, for example, Back to the Future. Come on,
right?
Nolan.
Yeah, or some weird asylum movie or something, some B movie. Don't try to understand it.
Just really,
just go with it.
I'm sorry. That just ain't gonna cut it, man.
And that actually, right after that line, introduces a major plot hole, which is him being able to pick up the bullets.
Yep. This is where the problem comes from. Okay.
If you take that whole scene out of the equation, the rest kind of works.
No,
that doesn't. Really messes with it up.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Yes, please do, because you have a better memory than I do.
Okay, so here's the problem you're having. Time reversal. Yes, I kind of see it in terms of short-term narrative structure.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you can reverse the momentum of things, and they take this to the extreme where people are now moving backwards through time.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
And it looks bizarre, and the technical achievement and stuff is where this kicks in.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you. And I really got this question for you, because I'm wondering if maybe you got this better than I did, so maybe you can actually explain this to me. There is a scene which features an interrogation that is moving both forward and backwards in time.
Mm-hmm.
Where a woman is shot in the shoulder, right?
Was the shoulder or was the stomach? It wasn't near her kidney, I think.
Oh yeah, no, she's shot in the kidney.
Yeah. And
then she's held up to the bullet hole, and threatened that the bullet's gonna go back into her and kill her somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, he puts her head against the window and is gonna kill her.
Yeah. So, and yeah, that's exactly the threat. Because she gets shot in another time, I think.
Yeah.
Here's my question. Where did the bullet come from? The bullet's in the window.
Yeah, the bullet's in the window. And they do a really, really horrible job of explaining this.
Okay. But maybe you got this, and I'm curious now.
So, exactly in the same idea and concept as the airport scene, where you had the bullet holes in the glass. There. And then when you play the video backwards, which comes later in the movie, you see that he actually, which is weird, that he would try to kill himself.
Yes.
Yeah, but he shoots the window.
Yep.
And then goes off. And so when you play it backwards, that happens first, essentially. Yes. This is the same thing where he did shoot.
Yeah.
In the future, I guess.
Yeah.
but then playing it backwards, it comes back into the gun.
Yes.
So that's the thing. He shot, then he went into the machine, out on the other side, dragged her with him.
Yes.
And then held the gun near the bullet hole so that it pops back into his gun.
Yes. Yeah. And I get all that.
Yeah.
Here's my question then. And this is really where you lose me. Because there's a lot of instances in this movie where this reverse bullet is talked about. Yeah. This idea that the bullet's going to go back into the gun and that's more damaging somehow than a normal bullet.
Yeah, I don't get why it would be more damaging. If anything, it would just be exactly the same.
And somehow that requires special medical treatment, because...
Yeah, that was... I don't want to get into it.
I don't want to get into it. But here's where it kind of loses me, which is this, yes, I can understand the bullet goes back into the gun. And apparently no one has free will and the entire world is predeterministic. Great. But, for the love of Pete, how can a man moving forward in time have a physical interaction with something moving backwards in time, which relates us back to this picking up the bullets nonsense?
The picking up the bullets is complete nonsense.
The picking up the bullets, the shooting the gun backwards from the already set tablet, it's just...
that whole scene is complete bollocks.
Yeah, but here's the thing, that whole scene lends the rest of the movie this idea that you are somehow interacting with these materials.
Yeah, but you're not. I mean, that's... Because they keep talking about the grandfather paradox.
Yeah.
And the grandfather paradox basically says that if you do have the ability to travel back in time, you would have already done it, essentially.
Yes.
So everything that you're seeing has already been done.
Yeah.
Meaning that it is predetermined. There is no free will, so to speak. It's more like whatever you thought now, you would have always thought given the same circumstances, essentially.
Yeah.
So repeating a timeline again, if you haven't changed anything, you would always do the same thing.
Predeterministic AF.
Yeah.
You have no free will in this world.
Yeah, and I mean, that lends itself to Einsteinian physics.
Sure, yeah.
Because that's sort of the same concept, where it says, if you're able to go out of time, you can see all of time.
Yeah.
Because as, like I said, given the exact same circumstances, you will always do the same decision.
Yeah.
And having no other knowledge. So here they're saying, the grandfather paradox is whatever happens has always happened.
Yes.
So, if someone learned to go back in time, it means you would have already seen them because they have gone back in time before.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of what they're playing on. So that's why it makes no sense in that scene with the doctor, because it's like, you don't have any interaction with these objects because what happens is what's going to happen or what has already happened.
Yes.
So you have no effect on it. So that's why I mean that whole scene kind of ruins the whole effect of the movie.
Really
because that happens in the beginning when they explain the plot.
So
you
set the rules and then you just don't care.
Like, and then immediately when you meet Robert Pattinson, he breaks that rule and tells you, no, that's not how it works. It's actually like this, which is like the established narrative. Yeah. I was like, okay, so what is true now? And I guess Nolan does everything in his power to prove Pattinson right and the doctor wrong.
Yeah, but just don't think about it.
Or the scientist, I mean, not doctor.
Just don't try to understand.
Yeah, don't try to understand it. Feel it.
Jesus, it really just...
Oh my god.
When John David... What's his name again? Yeah, John David Washington looks up and just goes, yeah, it's intuitive. And I'm like, nah.
Nope, not really.
Nah, that didn't work, Bell. That's just not okay.
Because they set up, like, if you plan on dropping a bullet, like, if you think about dropping a bullet, then in reality it would pop in your hand.
Yeah.
Like, that's the concept that they explain at the scientist.
Which makes sense in terms of an action thing.
Yeah, and that's why I was on board. I was like, okay, so this isn't really, like, one-to-one with the science, and it's kind of going for its own thing, kind of like Inception with the dream machine and all that stuff. So I was fully on board.
I am on board.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, that makes sense, because then, like, if you plan on, reloading a gun or something, you would shoot a gun.
Yeah,
or something to that effect.
There's a lot of interesting things you could do with this.
Yeah, but then they go out of their way to do... No, let's do the actual, like, the true scientific explanation had this been possible. And it just completely takes you out of it.
And here's the thing I gotta say.
I'm doing funny bunny rabbit ears because it's not really... No, it's not that accurate.
Here's the thing I gotta say, which is that the initial idea that you can somehow affect these objects and they kind of mess with how time works, you know what, if they just run with it... More entertainment.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's why I was saying. I was fully on board with that concept. I was like, okay, so thinking of doing something will do the opposite of it. Given that these have been affected by some kind of machine or whatever.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, that would be pretty cool.
You know what this is? And again, we keep referencing other Nolan movies because, again, the way he directs is so cyclical almost. Mm-hmm. This is the logic staircase from Inception.
Yeah.
That one time we bring in this interesting concept of, we can mess with architecture because reality doesn't matter.
Yeah, and it only comes into play once.
One time... It's explained in one scene, immediately proven, and then disregarded for the rest of the movie. And it's such an entertaining concept.
Yeah.
It's such a tease.
And they tease it a little bit before when they show... or actually after, when they show the whole cityscape kind of bending on itself.
Yeah.
Which is awesome, and you're like, oh, there's going to be some interesting action
John Rhys Davies uses it exactly once.
Yeah.
To push a man off a little balcony, and that's it.
Oh, God. So, yeah, no, that's exactly what this is. He introduced a really interesting concept, and then it's never brought back.
Because he's more interested in the science stuff than he is in the entertainment value.
Yeah.
Which is just, I'm sorry, you're making a movie to be entertaining. Come on, man.
Yeah, no, he really messed up the balance this time. Because, like, even Inception, yes, given that you could have control over your dreams, you could do all the things that they're doing. Yeah. The science fiction part is that you can share dreams.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's where he sort of plays with the idea, because then it makes it interesting, because then you're, like, with other people's dreams, and other people have control, and that gives an entertainment movie.
There's a lot of stuff in there. Like, the way a body's affected somehow changes the dynamic in the dream.
Yeah, right?
You're falling, and therefore the dream has no gravity. It's like, that's really cool.
That's really, really cool. And especially if you're sharing it with other people. Yeah. It's like you can get this whole, like, collective...
So I'm like, so here I am. I've just had the horrifying orchestra moment.
Yeah.
I'm watching... I'm sitting there thinking to myself, my God, please save this for me. And just like, okay, you've introduced a really interesting concept. Mm-hmm. Now what? Waiting.
Yep.
Waiting. Ooh, there's some kind of bungee jump thing going on. That makes no sense.
Oh, yeah. Man.
Reverse bungee jumping up the building.
We could talk about this movie for hours. Oh, my God.
I'm gonna reverse bungee jumping. And that's apparently not science fiction. That's just something you can do. Okay.
You can. Sure. I guess, if you have no regard for your life, because you will splat against that wall.
Not only that, but apparently you can do a reverse bungee jump up a skyscraper with nobody seeing you, drawing no attention, and do it so quietly that when you arrive on the top balcony, the man in front of you didn't hear you.
And they were so smooth, too. Like, come on. Like, even John, the protagonist, says that, he's never done this before. How in God's name did you manage to nail it so perfectly?
John Wick couldn't have done this nonsense.
Because it's a bungee, right?
Yeah.
If you pull it, it's
you are being slingshotted up this building.
And then, which means that when you reach the other end, you will be slingshotted back.
Yeah.
To a certain extent. And so they're able to dismount, like, perfectly. They get off and they take it off immediately.
No. So what apparently they did is they shot up these, like, pylons. Yeah. Nobody noticed those. Apparently. This goddamn harpoon, which then had a bungee cord in it, which apparently you had to shoot this thing, creating enough tension to create the bungee effect. Which means you must have fired this harpoon with the force of a goddamn railgun?
Yeah, because, you can assume that they weigh at least, 70 to 80 kilograms? Maybe more, because John... he's an NFL player.
An NFL player. This guy weighs 100 pounds.
Probably. Oh, no, you mean kilos.
Yeah.
200 pounds.
Yeah, 200 pounds in pure muscle. This man is... Robert Pattinson probably could get a strong wind to get him up there, but...
Yeah, he's kind of which is why I'm excited to see how he's bulked up for Batman.
Oh, God, yeah. No, him with a Batman body, that's going to be fun. But, no, I mean...
And the emo
yeah,
see the
that
picture?
Trailer, dude.
Yeah, ooh.
But, no, I mean, there's so much here where it's kind of like, yes, we've made such a big deal of how important this physics is, and then immediately this scene...
Oh, God.
Where I am literally just sitting there going like, okay, well, physics is a lie. Perfect.
But I gave that a pass because at least it was interesting. It was entertaining. It was different. Like, you've never seen... at least I have never seen a heist.
I've never seen it. It would have been so great in, like, a different movie. Like, a bank heist movie or something like that. Right?
Yeah. Like, if this was a heist movie where they do time manipulation the same way that they showed at the scientist's office, rather than the way that they actually ended up doing it.
This movie as a heist movie?
It would have been amazing.
Also, they had the quietest guns on Earth, apparently.
Yeah, right?
I'm sorry.
They're not even called silencers, they're called suppressors. But they really go all out with the silencing. These guns do not make a single peep.
That's right.
It's like a water squirt gun.
I'll tell you exactly what noise these guns made. The sound of the Star Trek doors.
Yeah.
That's all they did. That's all.
I hope they can pick that up, because that's hilarious.
That noise. That is the Star Trek door noise, and that is all the noise these guns made.
You have no idea how he made that sound possible. It's incredible.
This noise. That is the noise these suppressors
we have
make.
to have video at some point, because that's hilarious.
But I'm right, aren't I?
You are right. But yeah.
But here's the thing. You know how they actually made that noise in Star Trek?
The same way you did it? No, kidding.
A piece of paper being taken out of an envelope.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Man, there's some really creative sound effects.
It really is.
Out there.
Wish they'd use them in this movie.
Yeah. So they take the word.
So now that the Foley artist has gently blowed on the microphone for these gunshots. Yeah, there's a man literally standing 2 feet away, and the guy next to him gets shot at point blank range, and the guy goes, I have seen video game bad guys with better alertness than this.
Better AI. And at least even in Inception, because they had in the first opening sequence of Inception, he doesn't have a silencer or a suppressor, and he kills people. But there they go out of their way to see him run and slide down so that he can break their fall so that it doesn't make sound.
Yeah.
They kind of make
also,
up for it.
In the dream.
And it's in a dream. I was about to get to that. And it's in the dream.
Which is why it works. You know what? You wouldn't believe how forgiving I am of dream logic.
Yeah, I know.
Inception works for the simple caveat, it's a dream.
Most of it seems.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But my good God.
So this weird, and then, we find the weapons dealer who you called the plot hole. Please explain.
Okay, so the entire movie really just... He goes to a scientist lady, and she explains the physics that is immediately proven wrong.
Yeah, which is hilarious.
Fantastic. He arrives, and the bullets she gives him, to prove her point, that, he tests the metal and finds out they're from Mumbai. Or they're from India.
Some isotope or something.
And apparently... any gun bought in India goes through this one person in Mumbai. Fantastic. So he shows up in Mumbai and makes a random phone call to God knows who. And because he used to be CIA, I think.
Yeah, and they pretty much told him you're on your own.
You're on your own.
But say the word Tenet and then do this weird hand gesture.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah. I love the fact we're on a podcast and we're doing a hand gesture at each other.
Where you're interlocking your fingers, basically.
Yeah, it looks really stupid.
It does.
But here's the thing. He just
unlocks doors.
He calls up the CIA contact and just says, yeah, I'm actually alive.
Yeah.
No one cares.
Yeah. They went through great lengths to fake his death.
Yeah. The agency, nobody gives a damn, apparently. No one's hunting him down from the Black Ops.
Maybe you remember this, but in the opera, the orchestra scene, they find one of the pieces of the so-called algorithm, which, as far as I know, an algorithm is not metal. It's an actual piece of software.
It's an equation.
Or a mathematical equation.
It's a mathematical equation. It's usually not some kind of airplane black box.
Yeah, I know, which is weird. But they find one of these pieces at the concert house.
Yep.
Is that what kickstarts the movie? Because how did they go from that to then the weird rock with the bullets?
I remember this because it's so convoluted and stupid. Is that apparently John David Washington is there to extract an CIA asset.
I remember that.
Who is pretending to be an arms dealer selling a nuclear isotope, which is actually what the black box thing is. But everyone is talking about it as if it's a radioactive, uranium sample or something.
Yeah, because funny enough, they kind of explain that later on, but whatever, yeah.
So, and he shows up, he shoots several people in a box, and immediately says something about Twilight? I can't remember. That
was the key.
Some kind of code phrase, which apparently everybody knows.
Yeah, and I think that was just a jab because Robert Pattinson was in the movie, and so it's it was well, let's use the word Twilight in there. And really rub it in.
Yeah. He never says it, though.
No,
he does.
He does it?
He does when they meet in that little bar.
Does he say that?
I think so.
Anyway. He hated making those movies. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, anyway, so he gets this guy out, and the guy says, no, it's in the baggage claim.
Yeah.
So now you're watching Don David Washington in full SWAT gear sprinting through an opera house with a tag on his luggage like he's trying to reach an airplane. And it's,
because it's with like coats and stuff.
And it's just... And again, this is only stuff I pieced together afterwards by thinking it through.
Mm-hmm. During
the watching of this, all you are watching is people running and random words.
And the soundtrack going...
it
blasting your eardrums out.
It's just, it is the beginning of a really surreal Soviet music video.
The best part is, this is the one time I've actually regretted going to like an Atmos Dolby Atmos.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. I really wish I saw it in a normal theater. Because, by god. Anywho. So he gets the isotope, and then how does that go from that to...
So he has this isotope thing. He
gets captured.
He does get captured. But what he does a switcheroo where it seems like... What is this again? Where he takes the place of the guy who he's extracting. So when he puts himself where the extraction guy is supposed to be.
Yeah.
So when they grab him, it's actually him, and then they have to torture him for information.
Yeah.
And he ends up suiciding, which is this movie begins with a man taking the CIA death pill, which apparently is fake.
Yeah, it fails at it.
It's just nothing makes sense and nothing matters. Who are these people? Why do they want the thing? Nobody
And that's
knows.
also where you first see the reverse bullet, which is kind of interesting.
Who shot it? Don't know.
No.
Why is it
it's
there?
absolutely...
Don't know.
Right?
Yep.
Because that's something that they never get back to.
It is hinted at the end of the movie that it's his future self who does it.
Yeah, fine, you're absolutely
Because
right.
at the end of the movie, it is indicated that the person who has been kind of behind the scenes of all this is his future self.
Yeah, and he's sort of he's orchestrated all of this to repeat it again and again and again to avoid the future ever getting its hands on. Creating some kind of time loop, essentially.
He's created a time loop, and it makes no sense. But this is a movie where it literally has decided, wait, we can't make this work. Confuse them.
Yeah. Don't try to understand.
Don't try to understand it, and we will enforce this by headache.
Yeah. But yeah, so... do we want to really talk more about this movie?
No, I mean, we can... I love the fact that we pretty much got into the opening scene. And
because I really don't want to get too far into the rest.
Here's the thing. I mean, honest to God, this movie, if you actually start thinking about it, is just nonsense.
For the most part, yeah.
Please point to any part of this movie that justifies its existence in the script.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, the most confusing part about this movie is John David Washington's motivation, because there is no motivation. What is it that makes him do this? Like, why does he decide to be the one that's gonna create this time loop?
Not only that, but
what is the reason for this? Yeah,
he was a CIA agent. Great. He had to hide out on some kind of windmill. Fine.
Yeah, that's hilarious. This long ass montage of him just living there.
Doing push-ups in a windmill in the ocean. Great.
Yeah, and then taking a ferry to Norway.
Yes, can we all just point out, and I'm sorry, this moment happened in the film, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty certain he slipped amongst a crew of only white people.
Yeah, pretty sure.
So he puts on a uniform and slips on this boat. He's the only black guy on the boat, and apparently nobody noticed it. And I'm like, sure? I'm pretty sure a crew of 15 people would notice an extra dude. I don't think you can get away with this scam,
yeah, because that's how he gets to Mumbai, and meets Robert Pattinson.
And Robert Pattinson, literally, he makes a phone call to somebody, reveals he's alive, and meets Robert Pattinson, and Robert Pattinson's just like, hello.
Yeah. And with his ascot. I love that. I love He's such a...
His slightly schlubby ascot.
Yeah,
he looks a little bit... He looks like young Columbo in this.
Right, yeah, because he's got the flared hair, like he tried to make it, properly, and then just kind of gave up halfway through.
He looks like a college student who just woke up and had to get run to dress for class.
Right, but looking super posh.
Yeah, it's like, he looks like he's at, Eton, and he just woke up and he realized he has class in 20 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, God.
And that's his entire, attitude throughout this. And there's a great part where he's kind of I actually have a PhD in physics. And I'm like, dude, how old are you?
A PhD, really?
You have a PhD and you're a super spy. No. You are not old enough to do all of this.
Well, going back in time, he could have done all... I'm just messing with you.
No, but you're not wrong. That's kind of how this movie justifies itself. I don't understand.
Don't ask me. So I can voodoo away a lot of the stuff by sort of trying to explain some things.
Voodoo painting special containment units in the airports of the world.
So yeah, right. But you have to explain to me one thing.
Okay,
sure. That was completely lost on me.
Okay, I'm ready.
Up until a point.
Yep.
You follow through the whole action sequences, and then there's that scene that we were talking about earlier with the bullet, with the interrogation scene.
Okay, yep.
Up to that point, I was like, alright, I guess I'm kind of on board.
Yep.
After that interrogation scene.
When the army shows up of the time travelers?
Yeah. What? Where did they come from? And why weren't they there sooner?
It is literally the worst. This is way bigger than you thought it was.
Yeah.
I've ever seen in my life.
It was completely out of nowhere. And then they spend the next hour of the movie doing nothing.
Okay, and I'm going to be honest with you. When it comes to buzzwords, this movie has one that is even worse than don't even try to understand this. Temporal pincer movement.
Yeah. Oh my god.
That is
temporal pincer maneuver.
Yeah, that is repeated ad nauseum
on the second half of the movie for sure.
Once these army guys show up, everything is justified with the temporal pincer maneuver.
And obviously the Kenneth Branagh's wife, the woman.
Yeah, the woman.
Saying a mother's love. Repeating those words. A mother's love. Everything, a mother's love.
A mother's love.
Literally.
My character motivation, some painting, and a mother's love.
Jesus. Yeah, because that's how the whole thing started with the painting. Oh my god.
And one of the most, they're in a restaurant, and they're just talking about, I have no idea. She somehow, forged the authentication of a painting because she is a painting expert.
Yeah, so
that's the threat.
She's an authenticator, like a painting authenticator. She authenticates paintings, and she was having an affair with
the painter
an artist
who faked the painting, and then she authenticated it, and that's the threat he holds against her somehow.
Yeah, she authenticated it for her husband.
Yeah. And you know what? And this is the thing.
And because that will I guess ruin her and put her to jail because that's illegal. You can't really do that.
Yeah, which you know what?
And that will take her away from her child.
A fantastic motivating factor in the next version of Kramer versus Kramer.
Yeah.
Does it belong in this goddamn movie?
No, not even remotely. Just completely.
Upside down bungee jump. Fantastic for the next Mission Impossible movie. Does it fit in this movie? No.
Well, the thing is, this movie does so much weird stuff. Nothing connects with each other.
No.
You have the bungee. You have the weird airport action sequence.
Yeah.
You had that car sequence with the reverse car, which turns out to be him. Which I don't know how he didn't notice it. Right?
Yeah.
Explain that to me. He passes the case to Kenneth Branagh, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And when you watch the reverse, he notices himself in the driver's seat of the car going in reverse. But then completely forgets about it 2 seconds later.
Apparently.
Oh, God.
There's a lot of there's a lot of narrative jumps for being made in sacrifice to these concept moments.
But so yeah, from a plot standpoint, I guess we were saying earlier, it checks off okay, so everything does connect.
Yes.
and it checks that off.
Can I also just Here's the thing. There's also a little point that's brought up about midway through this movie.
Oh god, don't even get me started about the midway through this movie. Jesus.
Yeah, that 5-hour gap of time that apparently my life went down. So somewhere in there is an actual moment where I actually sat up and started smelling the air because I had a hope.
Alright.
When for one reason or another, suddenly we went kind of time cop. If you meet your future self, you cancel out.
I know. I had the exact same thought. I was like, are we going time cop with this? Please tell me that's how the villain dies.
But here's the thing. We're going time cop, which is then followed by, no. Everything is destroyed. If you meet yourself, everybody dies. It's a nuclear, it is the nuke. Which
doesn't fucking explain anything because how does the airport fight scene happen? Or
exactly.
How does the concert house thing happen?
Nothing makes
sense.
So
clearly, just like the scientist scene, this is just bullshit.
Yeah.
Anything a scientist says is wrong.
Cut to Robert Pattinson in a goddamn shipping container.
Yeah. Oh, that scene.
And then the question, wait, how does any of this make sense? I actually have a PhD in physics, and I don't really know.
Yeah, and then that's it. It's left in that.
Yeah.
Alright.
And I'm like, you know what, Robert Pattinson? Your character sells me on a lot of ideas. For some reason, he is equally someone I would trust to be my lawyer and to sell me weed.
Yeah.
He is...
he really nails
he has such a
That's a fine line, and he nails it.
He nails it. You know what I don't trust this guy to do? Explain complicated physics. I can expect the fact that this guy pulls out a gun when he shows up in that little office, to meet John David Washington. I'm like, okay, everything about this character tells me what this kind of character is. Fantastic. When he straps on a bulletproof vest 2 minutes later, I'm like, nope. This character is not a guy who gets up there and gets into the action.
God, because that whole middle section of the movie, that's what I mean by when I was talking to you when I just finished watching it, I was texting you. I was like, the middle part of this movie spends far, far too long in things like the shipping container, trying to befriend Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, literally all of a sudden, jumps to, oh, now we're gonna be this whole time army thing. And none of that is explained.
Switches movies.
Yeah, and none of that is even explained. Yeah. Where do they come from?
You were pretty much watching a slightly sci-fi version of Heat, and now you're watching Gattaca.
Yeah.
It switches genres on you, and it is very confusing.
I was mind blown. I was like, so where did this come from? Did they even talk about this beforehand?
Who is the beard dude? Why is Mr. Scotland here? I don't understand.
Whom I fully like. I was fully on board with him. He was super
I would have loved him to have a name.
I would have
loved him to have a character.
Like the protagonist?
If they called him the Scotsman, I would have been fine with that.
Yeah, at least that's something. That's some characterization.
Was he Scottish? I can't even remember.
I don't know.
He was English no, he was English. He was very broad.
No, because he's with MI6 with Michael Caine.
Yeah, Michael Caine.
Yeah.
Michael Caine
which is where Pattinson comes in as well. Supposedly.
No, but Pattinson is apparently recruited by future John David Washington.
And they have a real long and good friendship or whatever. So I guess he's the one that made him study physics.
You know what?
PhD.
Here's the thing. And this just occurred to me. You know what? Show me that movie.
Right? I was thinking the same thing at the end. I was like, do we get to see that movie?
Show me the physics student who is a physics PhD who is recruited for his physics knowledge to be a super spy in a time-switching movie.
Time travel movie, essentially.
And make the stakes smaller.
Yeah.
Don't jump to this Russian dude apparently is going to end the world because he has cancer. Again, Kenneth Branagh wants to kill everybody because he has, colon cancer, and I don't get it.
But I love that he keeps checking his heart rate. That was an amazing tick that the character has. That's a characterization I can get behind. That's something.
But if he had a character motivation, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, it doesn't really...
Because all his character wants to do is beat women and be evil.
Yeah. That's essentially it. The Bond villain, like what we're saying.
He is a slightly more trailer trashy Bond villain. It's just I love the fact and again this is the thing. This movie doesn't have subtlety. Hello, I'm John David Washington. I am meeting you, the villain. Great. You have talked to my wife. I will now be slitting your throat and shoving your balls.
Yeah. He's like, I'm gonna cut your balls off and feed it to you.
John David Washington really should just be looking at him like, dude, we just met.
Like, we literally just met. What's wrong with you, bro?
We've exchanged 5 words. I don't understand.
Oh, man. But we never even talked about why this technology was even created in the first place. That is the most ridiculous thing of all.
Sorry, that's amazing.
So apparently these people in the future are so advanced that they can create a device or an algorithm, again with funny boy and rabbit ears, that can reverse time.
An algorithm that only exists as car exhaust port.
Yeah, right.
This thing at the end looked like it belonged under a Tesla.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I know. It looked really weird.
It looked stupid as hell.
Yeah, so they're so smart and they're so advanced that they can create this device that can reverse entropy and reverse time, but don't know about the grandfather paradox?
Or they don't believe in it? Or something? Apparently they've decided
the only reason they give is that sometimes you gotta have a little bit of faith. Like, if you have no hope whatsoever, because apparently in the future global warming kind of takes all off and kills everyone.
Yep.
And there's no... kind of like what happened in the beginning of Interstellar.
Yeah.
That's the world in the future, essentially.
Yeah, apparently.
And even worse, I guess. So they're like, okay, so we're gonna create this machine because it's the only chance we have, essentially.
Yeah.
And they give it to that... They deliberately pass it back in time to the point where Kenneth Branagh was searching through the rubble of...
some hidden city in Russia.
Yeah. Some hidden city in Russia. Nuclear...
cleanup thing.
Yeah.
Some kind of reactor that went full on.
And so they deliberately chose that person.
Yes.
For some reason.
Well, admittedly, they chose a guy who literally looked at the world and went, well, if my wife has left me and I have cancer... it's time to make everything end. Yeah,
because I guess in the future's mind, which the minute they did that, if nothing changed, then clearly their plan failed.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's come on, like, that's immediately, we failed. Alright, okay, good to know.
No, you know what?
No, they just roll with it.
You know when the movie really just, took a serious turn for me? The soldier guy showed up, as we say, in the interrogation scene.
Yeah.
Fine. You know what? Okay, movie. I'm kinda willing to follow you here. We've ended up in a shipping container, and it's going back in time. Great.
Yeah, several weeks back in time.
And I can kinda see what you're doing with the circular logic. He's actually fighting himself at the airport. I figured that out the second you didn't show me that guy's face.
Exactly. The second Robert Pattinson pulls the mask.
I figured it out when the guy first showed up. You are in a movie that features some kind of reverse time, and you are fighting a dude wearing a full covering face mask.
Yeah,
it's you.
I guess.
There's absolutely no way that wasn't going to be John David Washington, actually.
Yeah. But I was kind of up in the air. Maybe it's Robert Pattinson, maybe it's not. But the minute that he pulls off the mask, looks at him, and goes, okay, now I'm not going to focus on you anymore. I was like, it's definitely John David Washington. It's just
But it's like, you know what? That happens. Alright, I'm kind of there with you. Fine. But the second you show me the giant boat that has a huge time reversal engineering setup where all of these soldiers are going through this process and you clearly got this massive infrastructure going on, and your entire explanation of this is, well, Suja is the biggest weapon dealer in India.
Right?
And
then what?
I am just sitting there going, I am sorry. What movie am I watching?
Yeah, no, I was, the minute the time army shows up, that's when the movie completely lost me. I was at least on board for some of it up until that point, but I was just like, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of
this is turned into something else.
Yeah, you are sitting there watching something that really did remind me of Heat, but with a sci-fi element.
Yeah.
Great. Suddenly we are Saving Private Time Lapse. I don't get it!
But it had some of the most amazing...
And then the end comes.
Yeah, which has... I don't know, it's bad, but it's also got some great scenes.
Yeah, but here's...
Again, the choreography is amazing.
The choreography is great, but here's... Okay, so there's...
the people moving forward and backward at the same time, and the explosions going forward and backwards in time at the same time, all that stuff is amazing.
Yeah.
But in the context of what the plot of the movie, it doesn't make a single lick of sense.
Because apparently you have sent people to the future who are then going to go backwards in times to meet when the bomb has already gone off, but clearly it hasn't, therefore the mission succeeded.
Yeah, exactly.
And here's the thing for me. And I had this when I'm watching this movie. There is a moment in this movie where a building blows up. Or no, a building is in ruins. It is reconstructed to then immediately blow up again.
But differently.
Bottom and top.
Yeah.
And I am literally sitting there going, that was the first thing that someone wrote as a script point.
Yep.
Someone thought of that idea and then based the entire rest of the story to justify that moment.
I had the exact same idea watching that. I was like, yep, this was the money shot that Nolan wanted to do.
Yep.
And he kind of just had to justify it by making this whole movie around it.
And I just...
That and the airport fight scene. Which I guess was like a byproduct.
I think that's a byproduct. I think this...
But that does have some interesting concepts as well. Like like the flying gun that then runs back into his hand and all that stuff. That's pretty cool.
Yes, it all works very well from a choreography standpoint. But I'm still bored.
Yeah, that's true. It did go on for a long time.
It went on for a long time, and the camera work is very poor.
And they did it twice. They had to watch it twice.
We had to watch it twice. We had to watch some skinny Norwegian run out of a room because apparently fire systems need to murder people.
Right? That was weird. But I really love...
And again, Terminator 2. They took that straight from Terminator 2. I don't know, man.
Well, I guess we've talked enough about this movie.
This movie has issues, and it's got severe fundamental issues, which is such a problem when it's the whole point of the movie is a fundamental concept.
Like, I have absolutely nothing against the concept.
Yeah.
The actors, most of them very well known and fantastic.
Yep. Most. No.
Yeah, well, I didn't even remember the woman, so I don't know. She hasn't really had an impact.
But this is my point. Even the two performances we liked, we like it because they don't fit in this movie.
No, they don't. They are...
Robert Pattinson is one step away from a stoner comedy. He looks
disheveled.
He looks disheveled and slightly confused. And this is great. I'm sorry, I just need to interject here with one point. When he interviewed about this movie, Robert Pattinson said, I don't actually understand the movie.
Uh-huh.
And the interviewer decided, he's probably just I think he's just fucking with me. So he calls up Christopher Nolan and says, okay, I have just had this comment from Robert Pattinson. He says he doesn't understand the movie. Is he fucking with me? Actual Christopher Nolan quote. Well, with Robert, you have to kind of assume he's slightly fucking with you all the time.
Okay. Well, I can believe that.
Which is kind of like because that's his whole thing in this movie. I believe nothing he says.
Right? It's really hard to believe him.
Everything he says.
Which is why I was kind of like, I kind of saw coming like the reverse switcheroo, which is like, no, he is totally trustworthy. You think he's not trustworthy, but he is totally trustworthy because he was so obviously not trustworthy.
It's just,
which is funny because you're trying to make this like whole spy movie. Essentially, that's what this is. It's a spy movie that turns into something a whole different kind of monster. But it's a spy movie. That's what it starts out as.
It wants to be a spy movie, but it just can't pull it off.
No.
And it's like there's so many aspects of this that I just don't understand because it gets so goddamn convoluted with this concept.
Which didn't have to be that way. They literally could have done like 2 scenes explaining it. They actually have the 2 scenes, and if they stuck to those 2 scenes, that's it. That's all you needed.
You know what it really...
Everything else was pointless.
Yeah, but you know what they needed? They needed Again, I keep going back to Inception because it is so similar and yet done so much better. What they needed was a secondary objective, and this concept needed to be just part of the mechanics.
Yeah, okay.
They needed to be stealing something or kidnapping somebody.
Yeah, as a heist movie. Yeah, it should have been a heist movie.
An assassination movie, anything else except making this time travel thing both the threat, the concept, the driving force, and the only mechanic of the movie.
Yeah.
And it just can't support it because it is nonsense.
It quickly devolves into nonsense.
It just devolves into complete nonsense.
And had they kept it smaller scale, it could have worked.
Yes.
But the minute you start having these massive machines and soldiers going in and out of them constantly from both sides,
but I mean,
which is like, alright, when did this guy get a whole army?
Yeah, but the thing for me is kind of like, it went two ways, which is like, I'm sitting there and like, okay, bullets can go backwards. Whoop-de-doo. Like, that's not enough to get me on board with this, because it's not interesting. It's just kind of like, it's another action mechanic.
Yeah.
And you're not doing anything creative with it. Fine. What's happened until about an hour in is that a bullet's gone backwards. Yeah. Nothing else has been used of this concept.
That's true.
And then the soldiers show up, and I'm like, okay, this world is opening up a little bit, but then it immediately jumps leagues forward in terms of now this mechanic is everything.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, where that's what I meant when I was texting you. I was like, well, they kind of linger way too much on some parts, which is that middle section with the hangar and the airport and all that stuff. And the airport and all that stuff. They linger so long in that, and then they literally just like make these huge leaps, both narratively and logically, where now, like you said, now this is everything, apparently. And like there's this whole world that's not even established, that's involved. This was the only thing that was established. The crossing of the hands on the word Tenet.
Yeah. What we really do have is the opening hour of the first movie. Right?
Yeah.
The second act of the second movie. And then the third act of the third movie.
And none of them really hang together in any way, shape, or form.
It is the Back to the Future trilogy, but you only get the opening where Marty goes back to the future. We are then cutting to the Marty who has to steal from himself the almanac.
Yeah.
To then cut the Wild West.
Absolutely true. Oh my god, that's such a good analogy.
That is what
is literally what happened.
That is what this movie is doing. And you literally are like, wait, we're on a boat? There's so many times you just end up on a boat for no reason in this movie.
And amazingly, the boat was moving backwards.
The
waves were moving backwards.
The waves are moving backwards, and John David Washington's doing pull-ups again.
Yeah. There's so many of these montages throughout.
Okay, great. The world is at stake, and yet we're going to mess it all up for this one woman and a mother's love.
A mother's love. Oh my god. Oh, I hated that line by the end of it.
And she'd used it like 6 times. Easy.
Yeah, at least 6 times. And it's like, okay, I get it, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
her whole motivation was a son who had no speaking lines, and we saw him twice.
Yeah, exactly. And even in Interstellar, which is the worst line in the movie, is when Anne Hathaway is trying to explain the whole love concept. And it's like, at least there they had the restraint to hold it back and say it only the one time.
They had it the one time. They did it during the slow pan in with the crying.
But
alright.
But it's like, it was the one time. You had that restraint. Here is like, no, let's mention it like 50,000 times. Let's make the whole movie about this shit.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Just take a beautiful little moment and imagine Anne Hathaway in this movie. As that character.
Yeah.
Better?
Much.
Yeah.
But still bad.
Still bad.
I mean, like, it's not... Like you were saying, we like Kenneth Branagh, we like Robert Pattinson. And to some extent, also, I like the physicality of John David Washington, but none of these characters are characters. They're just like shells of something.
Yeah, no.
Had Robert Pattinson not been so jokey and sort of charismatic,
Columbo-ish.
it wouldn't have worked. It would have been just as bland.
Oh no, he's still completely unexplained. His motivation makes no sense.
They don't even bother to explain it. They just say, "You come back to me in the future. Your future self comes to my past."
Yeah, and he just does it with a little. And he sacrifices himself at the end of the movie. And he does it in this... He did it with the casualness of me saying, by the way, I'll pay for lunch.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. That was so weird. It's like... And the same thing with Kenneth Branagh. Had he not been so batshit crazy, he would have been such a bad villain. Because, again, his motivation completely falls apart.
Yeah, okay. Oh,
my wife doesn't like me, and I'm dying of cancer, so I'm gonna kill everyone.
No. And there's a great little point here. And it really occurred to me, it just popped into my head now. Wait a second. So Kenneth Branagh, again, batshit crazy, goes back in time to relive the best day he's recently had. Right?
Yeah.
So at this exact moment in time, when the world is on the cusp of extinction by him, and his little heart monitor is registering that he's still alive and waiting to run out before everybody dies, there are 2 Kenneth Branaghs running around,
That's true.
both with a heart monitor.
That's true.
One of whom is completely unaware of what the other guy is doing.
That's true.
Because he just leaves, and then the other guy comes back.
Yeah.
Which means, there's the circular logic here is like, number one, how does this device know which one to listen to?
Yeah, that's true.
Number two, how can it be that he went into the future to then send himself back if at this exact moment he annihilates time?
Well, clearly it didn't work.
No.
That's why he was able to do it. Yeah.
Time travel movie, and this is the problem. Time travel movies, generally speaking, fall apart when you think about
There's
them.
only been one that's nailed it.
Primer.
Yeah.
Primer is the only one.
And that's because it was written, directed, and even acted by a physicist.
Yes.
With a PhD.
With a PhD.
What Robert Pattinson claims to be, that guy actually was.
Yes.
And he wrote that movie, and only that movie.
Yeah, pretty much. But here's the thing. That worked. Primer worked because it was so small.
It was incredibly small. It was literally focused on 2 characters.
Yes.
And the span of 3 attempts.
3 attempts.
Yeah.
And that's it. This movie is huge.
Yeah.
It feels pale and bland, but it's massive.
Which is why I kept saying, like, had they short or not so much the runtime. I mean, 2.5 hour long movies are okay nowadays, especially. Yeah. But just the scale, bring it down, bro.
This thing is a goddamn blue whale. It is just a big pile of nothingness just floating through an ocean eating plankton.
Because even in his earlier movies, for as large scale as they seem, some of them like Inception, Interstellar, Dunkirk, they're usually about small
little things.
Yeah,
and the motivations are small. I want to see my children.
Yeah, that's it. That's the entire
Someone
reason.
killed my wife. I mean,
and what this movie was desperately trying to be, which I think was with the whole mother's love thing. What it was desperately trying to be was the scene from Shutter Island.
Yep.
Where she goes crazy and says, it's because I love my children. But that scene was incredibly powerful.
Oh, yeah.
By an actress of a caliber much, much higher than her.
Also, Scorsese.
Also Scorsese, that helps. But Nolan is up to the task. He could be.
No, he's not.
He could be. I have hope.
Anne Hathaway. Love.
But in his earlier movies, he had some really good scenes. Remember Prestige when Rebecca Hall talks with Christian Bale's character?
Yeah.
And she explains how she understood how some days he loves her more than others.
Okay.
And that was a reason why,
I want you to do
good
something.
Scene.
I want you to do something for me.
What?
Think about that scene.
Yeah.
Now think about the transcript of that scene. Remove the performance. Does it work?
Well, that's what I'm saying, is they wanted that's the Shutter Island scene, but they needed an actress of that caliber to pull it off.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree
with that. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Exactly.
It's like this movie hinges on the performances because there are no characters.
Oh, the casting is so bad. I really think the casting is bad.
It was really bad to cast. Well, actually, no, because I think most of these actors, I don't know about the woman. I don't know that much about, but the others, like Michael Caine, even the American CIA director, whatever. In the beginning,
something.
Yeah, I've seen him in other movies. They're all good. John David Washington, great. Robert Pattinson, Kenneth Branagh, they're all big characters.
The casting is poor because it's just such a bad mix of energies.
Yeah.
And it also is the fact that I think Pattinson and John David Washington, while that works, that age bracket really does work really well for something like BlacKkKlansman, this movie, the kind of gravitas they're really aiming for, it needs slightly older actors.
This movie was missing the chemistry that John David Washington had with Adam Driver.
Oh, yeah. Oh!
That's what this movie was missing.
Definitely. Yeah, no.
And obviously a better writer.
Way better writer.
Yeah, but...
Way better.
But yeah, because this movie was trying to hinge, it was hinging on that we buy this friendship.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
How did this movie... Okay, this friendship worked.
No,
great.
I'm saying, the hinges on them.
No, but think about it. Yes, okay, let's imagine that it was Adam Driver.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said Adrian Brody. Those two really do mix in my head a bit.
They have some similar traits, I understand.
Yeah, the noses.
The noses.
But Adam Driver John David Washington, okay.
Yeah.
Does that make any of what happens less nonsense?
No, but like we said earlier, it doesn't need to make sense as long as it's an entertaining movie and it kind of works within its own universe.
Yes, but this movie is so adamantly trying to explain itself realistically.
That's true.
And it takes itself so seriously. And it's just, that's the problem.
Anyway.
We could really bitch and moan about this thing forever.
Yeah, we've already talked about an hour and a half.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. Recommend 10 out of 10. No, obviously not 10 out of 10. What do you give it out of 10 is what I mean. Honestly, do you even give it a score? Do you dare give it a score?
5.
Perfectly average movie. In our scale, 5 is average, 10 is essential, 1 is absolute garbage.
Yeah, I mean, this is the only reason I'm going to give this at 5 is because there is enough individual pieces that, yeah, you know what, you might be worth catching it on, I don't know, TV.
Mm-hmm.
If it's streaming somewhere, great. It's not worth the price of admission. It's not something I'm really going to recommend heavily to anybody. The more I've thought about it, the less I've liked it.
Yeah.
I walked out of the cinema going, okay, and the more it's sat in my head, the worse I've thought of it.
Absolutely.
Because the more it stews in your head, the less it makes sense. I don't know. Yeah,
I mean,
5.
Yeah, and going into this, I was going in for a 6, slightly above average movie, because I still think that the action sequence, well, at least from a technical standpoint, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And some of the characters are fun.
Yeah, sure.
So, but then again, everything else drags it so far down.
It really does. It's
really hard.
A big old anchor, man, I'm telling you.
So, I'm on the edge between 5 and 6. So I guess I'm just gonna have to land on a 6 with an asterisk, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, slightly above average, but that's because I have deep love for Nolan and his earlier works, and I hope to see him redeemed in the next movie.
I can't imagine he will be.
Me neither, but I hope.
Yeah, because this is such a clear progression issue.
Yeah, I know. His last 3 movies have not been great. 4, actually.
Pretty much. He's on a bit of a downward.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
Alright, where can people reach us?
Yeah, so we are available on most podcast streaming services. We're on iTunes, we're on Twitch, we're on...
we're not on Twitch, we're on Spotify
and Stitcher.
Yeah.
Twitch and Stitcher, I don't know.
We're also on YouTube.
We're on YouTube, yep. And if you want to support the show, we have a Patreon account, patreon.com/sightonscreen.
Mm-hmm. And if you want to give us some feedback or pop us a question or anything, you can write us on sightonscreen@gmail.com.
But of course, the biggest thing you can do to support the show is tell a friend.
Yeah,
send someone the link to let them know that this exists and that there are 2 guys sitting in Norway talking about movies and not liking Christopher Nolan right now.
Yeah. Didn't really have too many tangents this time. I'm proud of us.
Yeah, this movie didn't lend itself to tangents because there was so much to be upset about.
We did the time cop tangent, but
yes, because let's be honest,
they did it themselves.
They did it themselves, and
that has no relevance to the movie.
I was so hoping that either Kenneth Branagh would merge with himself and explode.
Yeah, that would be the end of the world device, essentially.
And I'll be honest, I think on the ending note, let's just all have a beautiful moment where we could imagine that Robert Pattinson looked dead into the camera and went, "There's never enough time."
Ah, yes!